There is something unsettling about the truly intelligent, not the educated, not the informed, but the truly thinking. Those who do not borrow opinions, who do not anchor identity in popularity, who do not need the noise to feel alive. These people disturb, not because they shout, but because they see, not because they obey, but because they question. We fear what we cannot control. And intelligence, in its raw, untamed, uncomfortable form, is uncontrollable. You cannot predict a mind that serves no tribe. You cannot manipulate a soul that seeks truth above belonging. You cannot cage a thinker. In this video, we dive into the philosophical current beneath this fear. Guided by the acerbic clarity of Arthur Schopenhauer, we expose why society often feels threatened by the independently intelligent, not merely because they are different, but because they reveal something we desperately try to hide. They are not just observers, they are disruptors. Their mere presence disturbs the status quo. They expose the cracks in our constructed realities. They refuse to laugh at unfunny jokes, to cheer for unearned praise, to validate the noise of empty ambition. And for that, they are punished, not with prison bars, but with isolation. Because their vision unsettles, their clarity irritates, their refusal to belong where lies are currency is a silent rebellion. They are not easy to be around. Their presence demands introspection. Their silence questions your certainty. Their restraint exposes your addictions. Their refusal to participate in trivialities, to pretend interest in hollow rituals, is perceived as arrogance. But it is not arrogance. It is a commitment to something deeper. The intelligent are dangerous, not because they do harm, but because they expose the harm we've accepted as normal. They are the red pill in a world addicted to blue comfort. They do not seek to dominate. They seek to understand. But understanding is a threat in a world built on convenient lies. Schopenhauer didn't believe in the romanticism of intelligence. For him, the more a man thinks, the more he suffers. Because to see the world clearly is to strip it of illusion. And illusions are what most people use to survive. The intelligent disturb society because they tear down these illusions. They refuse the superficial games. They don't worship fame, wealth, or majority rule. They see through it. And that is threatening. Imagine a dinner table where everyone pretends to be happy, successful, fulfilled. Then someone speaks the truth, a simple, unvarnished truth. This is all theater. That person becomes the threat, not because they lie, but because they refuse to. Schopenhauer observed that intelligence isolates. The more profound your thoughts, the fewer people will understand them. And in a world obsessed with consensus, to stand apart is seen as arrogance, even when it's authenticity. The crowd does not seek truth, it seeks comfort. The intelligent, true seekers burn this comfort. They ask, why, for what? Who benefits? And society answers, don't ask, just belong. And worse, they don't just ask these questions, they live them. They embody the discomfort, the doubt, the refusal to conform. They threaten not only beliefs, but the emotional infrastructure of collective life. And for this, they are feared. The intelligent become the unwanted guests of modernity, not because they cause pain, but because they reveal the pain that's already there, numbed by entertainment, drowned in consumption, suffocated by routine. They do not bring chaos. They illuminate it. To think is to suffer, said Schopenhauer. But to refuse to think is to rot in unconscious slavery. Intelligence is not a choice. It is a burden. And the intelligent carry it not with pride, but with urgency. Because in a world running toward the edge, someone has to see the cliff. Today, intelligence is commodified. It is praised as long as it is profitable. digestible, marketable. But real intelligence, the kind that questions the structure, the norms, the very system that feeds it, that intelligence is feared. Look at the thinkers who are silenced, not with violence, but with ridicule, with exclusion, with algorithms. The modern world has no need for thinkers. It wants influencers, not those who think, but those who echo. We drown in information, yet starve for wisdom. Our digital world rewards attention, not insight. Volume, not depth. Echo, not originality. In this environment, the intelligent are aliens. They do not play the game. They observe it. And their silence screams. Their detachment exposes our addiction. Their depth reminds us of our shallowness. We call them weird, intense overthinkers because we cannot label what threatens our rhythm. If you feel like you don't fit, like your thoughts are too deep for small talk, like your questions make others uncomfortable, you are not broken. You are not arrogant. You are awake. Being awake in a world that worships sleep is the loneliest power there is, but also the most necessary. In a society built on surface, your depth will be seen as a threat. So be it. The intelligent don't disrupt for pleasure. They disrupt because they cannot help it. They were not made to follow. They were made to illuminate. And yes, they pay a price. Solitude, misunderstanding, the ache of being misread. But they gain something priceless. The unshakable dignity of living aligned with truth. The pain of being misunderstood is sharp, but the pain of betraying one's own insight is far worse. Better to be alone with truth than popular with lies. Society fears intelligent people, not because they are dangerous, but because they are mirrors. They reflect what others don't want to see. The emptiness of routine, the hollowness of ambition, the fragility of belief. Schopenhauer didn't offer comfort. He offered clarity. And with clarity comes responsibility. If you are intelligent, you have a duty. Not to convert, not to argue, but to live as witness, to stay true, to think even when thinking hurts, to remain awake even when sleep seduces. Don't dilute your truth to fit into a shallow mold. Don't sacrifice your mind for applause. Walk alone if needed, not out of pride, but out of loyalty to what you see. Being intelligent today is not about having all the answers. It's about refusing the wrong ones. It's about sitting in the silence of not knowing and still refusing the seduction of lies. Truth has no fan club. Reality is not a product. Insight will not trend. And yet, these are the things that matter when the lights go out. In the end, the intelligent do not destroy society. They remind it of what it forgot. That to live well is not to conform, but to question, not to follow, but to understand, not to shout, but to see. And if society is afraid of that, let it be. Be the one who sees. Be the one who stays awake, not for applause, not for validation, but for truth. Because when all the lights go out, it is the thinker who becomes the fire. And in that fire, even the blind will find their way home. There is a cost to seeing too clearly, a tax on awareness, and that tax is solitude. The intelligent by nature live on the edge of human connection. They are not antisocial. They crave depth, but depth is rare. And so they walk alone, not because they want to, but because shallow waters cannot hold deep minds. Solitude becomes the consequence of authenticity. When you refuse to laugh at ignorance, when you can't pretend the meaningless has meaning, when you need conversations that transcend weather and gossip, you will be left alone. But that solitude is not emptiness. It is space. Space to think, to rebuild, to witness. In a world drunk on constant stimulation, solitude is seen as sickness. But the intelligent know. It is in silence that the soul breathes. In isolation that clarity forms. The crowd numbs, but the quiet refines. Truth is not friendly. It does not flatter. It does not soothe the ego. And that's precisely why intelligence is feared, because it inevitably walks hand in hand with truth. Society is a theater. Its stability depends on consensus, on myths, on shared delusions. The intelligent do not destroy these, they simply refuse to participate, and that alone is enough to spark panic. To be intelligent is to suffer the constant tension between what is and what is said, to live in a gap between reality and representation, to constantly battle the absurdity of a world that sells lies as virtues, noise as knowledge, and conformity as freedom. Schopenhauer knew this tension well. For him, truth was not a trophy, but a torment. The more he saw, the more he suffered. But he chose the suffering of lucidity over the anesthesia of illusion. And that is the choice of the intelligent. We often imagine revolutionaries as loud, violent, dramatic. But the most dangerous revolutionaries are quiet. They don't burn buildings, they burn ideas. The intelligent dismantle the status quo, not by shouting, but by thinking. They do not rally crowds, they plant doubts. They do not command, they awaken. Their rebellion is not against authority, but against unconsciousness, and that's why they scare those in power. Because an intelligent mind cannot be ruled. It cannot be marketed to, guilted, or bribed. It is free. And freedom is a threat to any system built on control. These thinkers are not just critics, they are builders of new frameworks, new ways of seeing, new vocabularies for what has not yet been understood. They are the seeds of what will one day be called wisdom. This is not about praise, it's about calling. If you are intelligent, truly painfully awake, then your life is not yours alone. It is a lighthouse, a warning, a promise. You were not given clarity to hoard it, but to shine it. You are not here to fit in. You are here to signal. The world doesn't need more performers. It needs more witnesses, more people willing to live with eyes open, to endure the cost of seeing, and not flinch. To be truth-tellers in a time of propaganda, to be still in a time of panic. You are not a mistake. You are not broken. You are necessary. And if your vision burns, let it. Because fire, when offered to others, becomes warmth. Be that fire, that clarity, that voice, not for yourself, but for everyone still sleeping in the dark.